that's where the words sort of came from.
Never again, never again, will there be another one quite as desirable as you? One look sends it coursing through the veins, oh how the feeling races back up to their brains to form expressions on their stupid faces.
Before you play a band's breakthrough track on a documentary, you normally say something like, and then came the song that would change everything. But the song the Arctic Monkeys recorded on the third day of their session, the song that would be their first single release, really did change everything. For everyone.
The XFM 10th birthday documentaries. Arctic Monkeys. Whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not. XFM.
During the summer of 2005, Arctic Monkeys stepped out of the public eye for just 15 days between touring commitments to record their debut album. But they also needed to choose and record their first single. And the track the band chose was I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor. Producer, Jim Abyss.
Energy, attitude and wit, I suppose. If anyone who can get a line in with Montagues and Capulets into a pop song that's a pretty intense song, I think is genius. That's a classic example of something that people put on, turn it up a notch when they put it on, and it makes them feel good. So just having made a record that does that is fantastic. You can retire now.
That's a really old one. Yeah. Like, I can't remember. Like that's probably just after I'd started thinking about like writing lyrics and that. It was like, I don't know, there was sort of like something happened, and that again is very boring. But it was just like they were a girl and fancied her a bit.
When I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor was released on the 17th of October 2005, it went straight to number 1 on the UK singles chart, selling 11,000 copies on the first day, beating Sugar Babes, McFly and Robbie Williams in the process. This followed near blanket radio play and a huge tour which culminated in a sold-out show at the Astoria, their second gig in London. The media went into paroxysms of delight as they poured over Alex's literate, witty and evocative lyrics, and the band appeared on the cover of the NME for the first time. Andy had just turned 20, and Alex, Jamie and Matt were just 19 years old. NME editor Conor McNicholas.
What happened was not any kind of concerted campaign. It was a genuine upswell of excitement from British music fans that they'd found this band that was speaking to them in a way that, you know, as Morrissey says, you know, said something to them about their lives, and was doing it with music and a lyrical message and a kind of a tone and a style that nobody else was even remotely close to. You know, the combination of both those things meant they were going to be super massive. When the single just bust straight in, it was like, you know, it really was like a bomb going off, and the media at large suddenly realised they had something they had to engage with, and the Monkees became household names overnight.
Even before the single came out, the pressure surrounding the band had been massive, something Jim Abyss had felt at the album recording sessions earlier that summer. I've
done lots of records at different stages in people's careers and different levels of success, but no other record have I worked on where the constraints around it, the time we had, the circumstances and the intensity of all the feeling about getting it right, encapsulated into essentially 2 weeks, was pretty intense. If they'd come out with a damp squib of a record, it would have been a disaster, and, you know, maybe none of us would have worked again.
Another remarkable thing about the sessions for Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, was that Jim Abyss and the band recorded the entire album in the exact sequence that you hear when you play it.
Well, we went to meet him for the first time. I said, these are songs that we want to do. I think this is like the order that we want to do them in. And he goes, alright, we'll try to record them in that order as well, which is something that he'd never done before.
Just wanted to try it, see if it would make a difference.
Before I met him, we had a couple of phone conversations, and he sent me an email with a list of the songs in this order, and some songs were picked out in italics and some weren't, and a little explanation at the bottom, which was the songs in italics are telling my story, like a day in my life, and the other ones are just general observations about my experiences. I kind of want it to be like a little journey through these songs.
Kind of wanted to make it sort of as interesting as we could, really. So there's sort of 2 halves to it, and there's like 5 songs that kind of go through it that are all sort of, I don't know, kind of joined in a way, I suppose, in terms of like subject. But yeah, we just tried to make as many sort of reasons for it being in that order as we could, really, and not just like, you know,
just a collection of songs.
Yeah.
I thought it was amazing that he'd already been thinking about the order that the album might end up in. And that kind of thing doesn't really mean much to anyone outside the process, but it kind of structured it a little bit in terms of, well, today we're on, say, Riot Van.
The album is clearly divided into two halves, as indicated by the gap between songs 6 and 7 on the CD sleeve, like a traditional 12-inch record, and the song that starts side 2 is Riot Van.
Because we know we were going to do a 12-inch and we were wondering where to put this particular song because it sounds a bit different. Yeah, we were wondering where to put it, and it seemed like a good, like right in the middle, sort of a bit of a shock almost.
So rolls a riot van and sparks excitement in the boys, but the policemen look annoyed. Perhaps these are ones they should avoid. But he couldn't care less.
I remember we were sat somewhere in town once. Jamie Cook discussing our surroundings, and that was what came in it. That tune. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not very good at describing the things like that. I'm boring myself.
Riot van, all the coppers kicked him in, and there was no way he could win. Just had to take it on the chin.
The album's title comes from a quote from the gritty 1960s film Saturday Night, Sunday Morning, starring Albert Finney. Matt and Alex.
It was pretty late on, weren't it?
Yeah.
Because we had other idea for a title, and but then we watched this film.
It's something that we'd overlooked a bit, really. Yeah. I think a title, and then I don't know, we were thinking of one thing, and then more it was getting built up. We thought, we need something,
yeah.
And then we were watching this film, and that Lawrence had bought us. They just bought us a lot. They kind of gave us a load of DVDs just to keep us sweet, and that was one of them. And we watched it, and there was just this bit, and he's, I don't know, and it just went the way he said it, like where he delivered that line, just sounded right.
Yeah.
I don't know, right smart, and I thought it kind of, I like the idea, right, we're kind of from the film Saturday Night and Sunday Morning, because that's sort of what the album did as well. Go from Saturday Night to Sunday Morning.
But if any annoying bastard says that's me, I'll tell him I'm a dynamite dealer waiting to blow the factory to kingdom come. I'm me and nobody else. Whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not.
And also, I don't know, it kind of felt like it applied to us and all in a way, because people were saying stuff about us and writing things about us and that, not necessarily bad. But yeah, and I thought it kind of whatever people say, I'm not really a good sort of way to get out of it.
Another track that takes inspiration from a real late-night incident is Red Light Indicates Doors Are Secured, which details problems getting a cab in Sheffield after dark.
We'll ask if we can have 6 in, if not we'll have to have 2. We all coming up at our end, aren't you? So I'll get one with you. I want you let us have 6 in, especially not with the food. He could have just told us no though, he didn't have to be rude. You see her with the...
we weren't hoodlums or anything but I mean, it was just sort of things that we saw when we were a bit younger and still sort of reminiscing about them times. Now it's quite it was funny.
It was.
Came and played for a tropical reef, and I'm sitting going backwards, and I didn't want to leave. I said it's our green mate by a Hillsborough, please.
It's all happened, whether it's to you or just people you know. It's all fact. Sometimes we can tell, if we do something, we can all tell, this would be a good subject for a song. If there's something we've done when we've gone out that we won't forget because it was that funny or that strange or whatever. And then we can all tell that would be a good idea for a song.
The kind of thing that seems so silly, but not when they...
The success of the band also meant a certain amount of attention was suddenly given to Sheffield. John McClure.
Yeah, there's a lot of pride as well, and it did bring a lot of focus on Sheffield, which had been largely ignored for a number of years. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know, but there's a lot of pride because you've watched some guys grow up and around you, and then suddenly they just become megastars. Yeah, it's wicked. Well happy. It's come on, nice one, lads.
Always one of the more idiosyncratic music scenes in the country. What is it about Sheffield that produces talents as diverse as Jarvis Cocker, The Human League, Def Leppard, Arctic Monkeys, and of course Richard Hawley?
I don't know. An undefinable thing. I was talking to him about it a while back, and it was both of us agree you don't want to know. Do you know what I mean? Well, you don't want to know why it happens in Chef. It just does. I don't know. Nobody copies each other. I think it throws up quite a lot of mavericks. I have no idea why.
barricades, doors are secure.
The cover of the album, a photo of John McClure's brother Chris smoking a cigarette, prompted a negative reaction from some quarters, with some doctors stating that it reinforced the idea that smoking is cool, something the band denied.
Came back as a bit of an issue.
None of us smoked,
but we sorted it out.
Thing.
Yeah. So,
it were all the people that actually smoked themselves that were like, about it. But I don't know, they found this like old passport picture from like 60s of this bloke, and he had a cigarette, and then we goes, oh, like, you will try and do something like that. I can't remember. We were struggling again, like we were for a title for an album cover.
We were just going to have a blank thing, weren't we?
And we didn't really want to be on it ourselves, like.
Another song that dated back to the Beneath the Boardwalk days was Perhaps Vampires Is a Bit Strong, but a track inspired by the band's early days. Alex.
We did a lot of gigs out at Sheffield, and we had Jeff then who sort of started managing us and that. And he had like an old Saab, and we used to all get in his Saab and like sort of, pack the car up with a few amps or whatever and then go and play these gigs. And people, when you talk to him at home, always used to seem like, oh, what are you doing that for, sort of thing. Like, do you get paid then?
How much money did you make?
It's like, well, no, we're just sort of, we love doing it, and like we kind of getting his name about a bit or whatever, I don't know. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we were just like going and playing the circuit, I suppose. Yeah, and it was just kind of about them attitudes, and everyone's like, thinks they're an expert on sort of how you get on in bands and that. It was like a reaction to that.
After a shattering 15-day session during which the band recorded all 12 songs in order, the album was finished. Producer Jim Abyss.
The best moment really actually was at the end of recording for that, because we were, as I say, we were so pushed for time, we didn't have time to do extensive playbacks, and it really was a case of going to bed knackered, having finished something, getting up and starting again. But at the end of the recording, so on day 15, we sat down, myself and the band, and just played it once through very loud, and it was the first time I kind of realised, wow, we've done something that's really is incredible, and I'm really, really proud of this, and I think everybody in the room was. And everyone just went off on their own after that and just sort of sat and didn't say a lot. It was kind of really quiet. It was quite bizarre because there was nothing to say, really.
With the songs complete and the title and cover chosen, Monday 16th of January 2006 was set for the release of Arctic Monkeys' debut album. Whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not.
The XFM 10th birthday documentaries. Arctic Monkeys. Whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not. XFM.
Arctic Monkeys' second single went under various names at various times, but the band eventually settled on When the Sun Goes Down. Drummer Matt Helders.
I don't know. We never really had a name for it for a long time. We used to just refer to it as Scummy Ourselves or Scummy Man at first. Yeah. But then we realised it weren't just about a scummy man. It was like General Scum. And it were scummy. Just so we knew what to play.
But then it didn't seem fair to call the area Scum, because it's quite nice in its own way as well. It is a bit dark.
Lyrically, the song is about characters in the Neepsend district of Sheffield.
The area that it's about is where we used to have our practice room. That's where it's on the cover of the single where we used to practice. It used to just be like that when we used to come out of practice. You used to see all kinds of things. There's
loads of practice rooms and bands, and everyone was always there. It's weird how they sort of.
All these things come together. Engineers, bands and prostitutes.
And that was something that a bloke said when we moved into the room. He said watch out lads, it changes when the sun goes down. I said, who's that girl there? I wonder what went wrong so that she had to roam the streets. She doesn't do major credit cards, I doubt she does receipts. It's all not quite legitimate.